My assumption here with BlackBRIAR's Thumbelina is that we dive directly back into the fantasy roots of what BlackBRIAR has so routinely chronicled in an inspirational spirit into their works, fueled of course by beautiful articulation within their narratives, as you'll witness, maybe on fresh exposure or matured awareness, or in other words from a familiarized lens, right? We all approach BlackBRIAR perhaps differently, and I hope for that, right, in terms of our mutual journey together through the remainder of A Dark Euphony, as promised a while ago, and now that I'm finally able to get to it. It took a while, but I've longed for this journey, and I did avoid temptation to enjoy it with you again on the first time witness. That was integral. First ever BlackBRIAR album I've humored in company with anybody. And it's a welcome experience. I mean, again, as I've stated before, longtime favorite of mine since 2020 when I was first introduced via Until Eternity. I've never forgotten about that first encounter. BlackBRIAR, instant replay for me. True superior band, not only in the rock and metal landscape generally speaking, but certainly in the world of European metal. And if any of you have not yet been introduced, you're coming at this in terms of the concluding work for our fulfilled journey for the full realization of A Dark Euphony. So I would recommend, track number 9 though on the album listing, so there's still 2 more to go if you are going in that order. I would recommend in preparation to this that you take a hiatus to exposure if you're hearing the album with me, or even on isolation, and go back to the very beginning of A Dark Euphony. And really anything from BlackBRIAR's library is a welcome introduction to their work, but at the very least, if you're going to take this journey with us, you start at the beginning. It is worth your time. The entire album has been a beautiful exploration, whether they be the singles that come out in preparation or these 7 last songs that we're hearing in company together. And again, on entrance, I would think BlackBRIAR has competent delivery. They always do. But before we jump into Thumbelina, just so every one of us is on even footing, right, in how we approach from whatever vantage point, Dutch-based symphonic gothic metal with killer articulation, whether it be on score, vocals, or narrative, with again a mythic centrality to their pieces. That's a key facet with BlackBRIAR's exploration. Mythic or interwoven into fantasy, ventures into nature and different types of cultures. I mean, there's a lot encompassed with their works. BlackBRIAR pieces are incredibly broad and full of depth, but I appreciate that. The sophistication in their music is incredibly rewarding on a listen, and many return appearances, not only for myself, but I'm sure for many of you. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I don't think it will take much convincing for you if you are not yet a BlackBRIAR listener to become a fan of them. They're very easy to get into. I don't think you'll regret it in any way. And if this is your first entrance into the European rock and metal world, that will also be, I think, of advantage to you. BlackBRIAR is an incredibly competent voice there. And in the metal world, generally speaking, a lot of depth. And symphonic metal in particular is a favorite of mine. Just the range of where it goes between different groups as well in consideration. There's a great versatility on craft within that particular space. It's a real charm, though. I love anything, again, of a vast concentration, and BlackBRIAR commands that. As I was saying, though, with Thumbelina, we dive right back into that directed fantasy fairy tale vibe of what, to some extent, A Dark Euphony has captured from time to time, again, depending on the particular number and the perspective interpretation. Now, I'm operating on that, on what I can gather based on the titling directly and familiarity of BlackBRIAR and where their lyrics drive. I would, if it were available, it's not presently. The band very recently got off their tour, and they're in the presence of fulfilling orders that were in the pre-order stages. I myself bought the, in advance, behind-the-scenes lyrical interpretation package, whatever that looks like. And it hasn't arrived yet, not that I'm complaining, I totally understand, but in the process of covering BlackBRIAR, because I do try to produce a good survey of their works and consideration, in even just, I know in the context of a fresh encounter, but there's a lot to examine with these pieces, and when appropriate, I do try and dive into the lyrics as detailed and as possible to have a good insight. I like digging into an artist's heart and seeing that inspiration when publicly offered. And some of these numbers have disclosed the inspiration. Others, it's been quite evident to see. And then maybe in others, I give you my own interpretation based on the details I can pick out. But I am qualifying that perhaps I'm operating void of specific knowledge of what the band was interpreting, and maybe it could be incorrect. But I sense I'm probably on the ball with this one. Thumbelina, because again of the fairy tale connection. Referring back to Hans Christian Andersen and his works, though I've not read many fairy tales in detail, I grew up on, some of the more conventional ones in the Western world. I don't remember Thumbelina. Maybe. I remember, every kid grows up with certain stories, and I don't think Thumbelina crossed in, though I have heard of it by name. I know it's had presence within the cinematic realm of entertainment, so there has been circulation of it that perhaps has crossed the radar of mass audiences. So perhaps on this one, maybe you're not informed of BlackBRIAR, but you know the story of Thumbelina. A tiny, if it so feels like BlackBRIAR, just in summation, a little tiny girl surrounded by nature. that's key with this album too. I love the nature concentration. I didn't think about that going in, but this is so specific to this release. I just love the adventurism of the Dark Euphony. And this is a general comment to the entire album from each piece, but tiny girl falling in love amidst an environment of nature that surrounds her, I guess, in larger standing. But automatically, I can sense where this is going to go in terms of musical tailoring and achievement. There'll probably be a great prowess to Thumbelina based on BlackBRIAR's craftsmanship. I love this group, and if you've never been introduced, I cannot wait for you to entertain them. Our last step in the journey together for A Dark Euphony, though, as promised, and it's been a great album. It's always bittersweet when you get to the end, but I love it. To say this is my first ever BlackBRIAR album I've humored in company. Again, I think music is better enjoyed in a collaborative environment. In the prospect as well that Roots can be pitched for anybody who's not yet welcomed the graces of so many talents that I have, and have a real honor in spotlighting. Every artist in this case has shared in that remark, and BlackBRIAR, I would never give an exception to them in that respect. They are incredible. If you've never borne witness to their work, you'll see it, I'm sure, with Thumbelina, just on presumption of what we're about to witness. The entirety of A Dark Euphony thus far has been excellent. Thumbelina, fittingly, will follow suit. I have no doubt in my mind. Not bad. We ended on a different key than I first saw, and a harsher root. I thought it could be a little more sentimental, but not bad. And that interlude, especially with the background vocals, I think that's what it was. Incredibly engaging on outset. Fresh take, by the way, in its entirety. I've not read the lyrics either, so we're experiencing this all again in mutual standing. Tune-wise, though, so far what we've heard, it's excellent. Not bad effect choices with this number. I like the piercing syncopation. It's a good choice. Leave it to Zora to employ masterful echoes of her own voices. Again, a sweetened layer. Gorgeous. This key is one of my favorites on the album. The instrumental is already very endearing to me. The scale on this number is really nice. This reminds me of one of their earlier EP songs. It follows suit nicely. It does feel mature, but it just feels like it was stripped from one of those collections. What a special number. I'm not off at all again, but a digging back roots experience. That's what this embodies. Beautiful transition on that. Solely on vocals, that works. I mean, you get the instrumental too, but that Fred, wow. The organization on the development with the vocals and the constant shifts in her voice, wow. It's a remarkable number and a great finish to our journey. Listen to all those variations. That's a great number. So now the question becomes, as I said, this one evokes a reminiscence to a past piece of theirs, whether it be from one of the EPs or I guess could be the cause of shipwreck too. Let's go through lightly. I'm looking for the specific key. Let Me In, I love Let Me In. Maybe. It's one of my favorites from their earlier library. I think it's an underappreciated work of theirs too. I mean, I don't know what the focal point of inspiration was to that piece, but the tune is remarkable. Mortal Remains, yes. Fairy of the Bog, maybe Deadly Diminuendo, and I'm leaning toward Confess. This piece has a good mixture of elements of BLACKBRIAR roots for me. That's how I categorize it. I listen to this and I feel like I'm reaching back into the earlier days of when I was first introduced. And it fleshes out, I think, the tale of Thumbelina quite well in a storyline that is easy to follow for somebody like me who's very much initiate to that particular fairy tale. I know nothing other than what I'm giving you. And BLACKBRIAR is, in this case, teaching me creatively. I love the visuals. Sleeping in a walnut shell upon a blue mattress made of violet petals is an incredibly tangible illustration. You immediately can conjure it. It isn't unapproachable in any way. Beautifully married to the vocal intricacies of development of Zora's mastery. She truly is an incredible vocalist, one of my favorites. Just the command in her voice and a level of precision and the sophistication in those constant shifts, especially on that frequent iteration of like Thumbelina was, the stacking. Even there you see consistencies on portrayal, different key and different range and a stagnation of that particular line by comparison to other past BLACKBRIAR numbers, but a sentiment echoed in other pieces where there have been those types of shifts, a bit stretched, but I don't know. I think instantly, part of me is like the seance comes to mind. I have heard the number. I think it was the charismatic, I've been watching a lot of her lately, the charismatic voice who's talking about the shifts there, and I sense the same energy here. Again, different voice, different specified direction on Thumbelina, but the track evolves well though, doesn't it? The experience I take away from it, great instrumental application, beautiful score as always, but the effects on it too, even that outro, I can't explain it, but you hear the way we wrap up with that number. I guess it's best simply stated, a digging back of roots. That's what I feel with this piece. Like it's a combination of different medleys from their earlier library. I just sense it immediately. I think in part because there's so many appearances of close proximity in that key, but some of the effect use, the vocal application, the score construction, the length, organizational choices, this truly feels for me like one of those root experiences I took that formed a foundation of favorability of BLACKBRIAR in early days introduction of where I was back in 2020. It just comes across completely to me in that experience. It's a delightful fairy tale application and retelling of, I think, a beautiful piece, explored well, of course, and adeptly by this band. I'm not surprised, but the direction on this number, it's a great finish to our experiences. To tie it back, it's like it all comes together. I know there's 2 more tracks to go in order of album listing, right? Forever and a Day and Crimson Faces in that order. We have introduced ourselves to that together in months past. But it's a great finish to our journey, I think. Thumbelina is one that stands out. Each piece in some respect does with this album. They're delightful numbers. You know they will be if you're familiarized with BLACKBRIAR. They always impress. Dark Euphony, what a wonderful collection. And an evolution of growth. I mean, I see the building from, again, those foundational tunes, but there's still such a strident fret on this one. It's assertive, and I welcome its presence. It's delightful. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on Thumbelina. And as we've reached the conclusion of our journey together, your thoughts as well, I guess, overall on a Dark Euphony, if you've been proceeding through it with me, and your angle of approach, right? How did you come to a Dark Euphony? Longtime fan like myself, or initiate listener of where I was, so long ago? But I welcome everybody, and I hope for those of you that it was a discovery journey, you had a fun time with it. Again, it is to your advantage to go back in years past at BlackBRIAR and explore some of their works. Truly an admirable depth and touch. One, I can't recommend them enough. They are an incredible force within the metal world. And you see why, 11 numbers later, with a dark euphony, a great re-entrance to them. And as I've said, in every respect in terms of artist conclusion, they reach the end of our journeys. Open door policy to anybody. Any new developments of BlackBRIAR, I'm happily awaiting, but it was an honor to take this journey with you. So glad I finally got to it after how long? Didn't expect that hiatus and break, what took me about a month to get around in terms of an album witness, but I see why everybody speaks about it in glowing terms. Again, I suspected that would be the case. It's not a surprise to me with BlackBRIAR. But to witness it with all of you, what a wonderful opportunity. Loved every minute of it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.